Hey everyone, it's Alex and welcome to the Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap. Now these decks have been determined using untapped-based statistics. We take the win rates and the cube rates to determine the ranking order, but most importantly, if you'd like to get started with Untapped, you can for free down below with the link I have in the description and in the pinned comment. With that being said, let's get started today with number 10. Now what we're focusing in on this week are some new and emerging decks with very high win rates and high cube rates, a lot of rank equity here. So let's get started with a brand new type of style of Annihilus junk, and this here is running some of the usual suspects like, Annihilus, Hood, and White Widow, but you're also utilizing Mysterio with Cersei, and obviously you have Red Guardian for the Thenas and the Angelas, and Nocturne, which is a statistically very strong card right now. It's running a 0.39 cube rate, which is pretty damn impressive, and a very capable 57% win rate. This is a new take on Annihilus that seems to be kind of catching hold of the meta. The idea that you can, throw your Sentry Void into the right lane, you can either Annihilus it over, or you have the counterplay of being able to turn that into a 5-drop, which statistically is pretty damn good. I mean, you hit MODOK, you cry every once in a while, and that's kind of what Cersei does, right? It has that RNG factor, but with the Void turning into a 5-drop, it's generally a pretty good result. I mean, it's not going to be -8, right? And most opponents are likely to be blocking off that location. So if they're blocking off that location and the Void's not going to get there, Cersei provides you with an opportunity to change that -8 Void into something of legitimate value for you, okay? So a very interesting deck here, and it takes us to number 10. We go to number 9 here, and it's going to be Namora, 58% win rate and a very, very strong cube rate at 0.41. This is a very capable deck, and it has been a part of the meta for some time. Its play rate pretty damn low. Namora was one of those cards that I think that, a lot of people didn't pick up. They weren't that interested in, and I think we kind of missed the mark in terms of its relative power level on first evaluations of the card. Like, as a whole, I mean, we generally were a little low on Namora, but it ultimately has been a tremendously powerful card, especially with the likes of Jeff, Nocturne, and Nightcrawler, that movement-based package. The addition of Echo in this deck is actually pretty damn interesting, considering that we're going to be talking about another deck soon, which is all about Ongoing. Ongoing's making a pretty legitimate comeback into the current meta. We're not seeing as much Miss Marvel, but general Ongoing packages are a major part of the meta, and so Echo provides a pretty interesting tech option with that regard. It also protects you from Cosmo. You play your Echo, you play your Wong on top, and Cosmo is a non-factor for your Namora combo play. So I do really like the way this deck is designed. It has a lot of power behind it, especially with the secondary line of White Tiger Odin, right? Those tigers are 8 power now. It's they got buffed. I mean, it's a couple months now, but some people might not realize that they got buffed because not a lot of people are playing White Tiger right now. But this deck is pretty damn solid. One of the best in the meta at number 9. That takes us to number 8 and another Cersei deck. Now listen, I wasn't that high on Cersei, but I'm happy to see that Cersei's making an impact, and this has an absolutely phenomenal statistics behind it. A 0.59 cube rate is amongst the highest I've ever seen, and a 58% win rate. It's remarkable what this deck is doing, and it has this destroy package, and most importantly, that Void from Sentry can be dealt with Carnage, it can be dealt with Lady's Deathstrike, you can Cersei it. There are so many different options with how you kind of take these cards like the Hood and that junk style package, and instead of running Annihilus, you run Cersei and Deathstrike and kind of flip the board state. It's also notable that destroying the Hood and Sentry's Void will allow you to decrease the mana cost of death. So a very interesting deck, a new way to play Destroy. And we don't actually see very often, Destroy being kind of brewed upon very often. You kind of see this like standard Destroy deck that seems to be taken week to week to week. So it's really exciting to showcase something new here because, I think Destroy players are kind of really looking for a new flavor of Destroy to play, especially with a new and emerging meta. That comes in at number 8. Number 7, we have Spectrum. This was the aforementioned Ongoing deck, and the reason why some people are starting to slide Echoes into their lists, but mainly Spectrum's just damn good. It's just damn good. The amount of power output's incredible. Omega Red, classic cube stealer, Claw, classic cube stealer, and I like the addition of Jean Grey here. Jean Grey is actually very disruptive for a lot of decks because you can play Jean Grey and then you can play your Cosmo behind it and completely destroy any of their combos, right? And of course Mojo, which is sneakily a very high win rate card. So ultimately Spectrum, pretty damn awesome in the current meta, statistically pretty strong at 59% win rate, though the cube rate is on the lower end at 0.27. You're getting almost double the cube rate elsewhere, but still a very fun deck, and albeit kind of inexpensive, although it is running Man-Thing, but Man-Thing is easily sellable for any amount of ongoings you might have available, even something like an Agent, I was going to say an Agent 27. Who the hell is Agent 27? US Agent is what I meant to say. So US Agent also sellable in a deck like this. Then we go to number 6, and is this Baron Zemo? It is Baron Zemo at 59% win rate and a .30 cube rate. It's a pretty damn good deck, and what's interesting about it is this new take on Cannonball Doc Ock, where you're trying to like clog up their lanes, you're stealing a bunch of their cards, you're magicking to extend the game, but most importantly, you are just putting up immense high value cards, okay? If you think about the way, Destroy's playing right now, Shadowkin completely destroys it, right? Baron Zemo is likely to be taking some decent targets away from the Zoo decks, which are pretty popular. Gladiator trades very favorably into this meta because Hell is kind of on the way out, so you're less likely to pull a very large detrimental card out of their deck and more likely to hit a piece that they probably wanted. And the Doc Ock Cannonball is actually kind of interesting. This is one of the only decks that's still running Cannonball to some degree of effectiveness, despite Cannonball's nerf. I mean, that whole package got destroyed with the changes to Professor X. Cannonball even took a little bit of a stray, going from a 5/8 to a 5/7. So still statistically pretty interesting, but Zemo's one of those cards I think people don't really like that much. I tell you, Zemo's a ton of fun to play. The Cable Zemo package, that Disruption, it's great. I had a ton of fun. I mean, the first time I played Cersei, I was playing in a Zemo package, right? It wasn't as successful as this, but it's just so much fun to play that archetype. So it's good to see Zemo making at least a little bit of an impact in these brew stages of a new meta. And then we go to value Blink. Now, Blink continues to be one of the best cards in the game in terms of generating a disproportionate amount of value for you. And in this deck, running a .37 cube rate, a 59% win rate, it's just damn good. The classic usual suspects are here: Jubilee, Blink, Red Guardian, Blink. You could even, Leech, Blink, right? If you know you're going to hit Magneto or Red Hulk. It takes a little bit of practice to be like, okay, I'm going to play Leech here. I know Red Hulk or Magneto are still in my deck, so I'm going to play Leech in a position where I want that Red Hulk or Magneto to fall into when I blink on turn 6, right? So it takes a little bit of mental gymnastics to get used to like the macro side of the game. But generally speaking, Jubilee turning into a Claw, very good. But once again, you have to pay attention. You don't want to play your Jubilee on the right side. You want to play it in the middle or on the left, because if you're going to be hitting that Claw or hitting that Leech, you're going to want to make sure those cards land with that Blink play based on where you want them to be, and you have to kind of think ahead in that regard. So a really cool deck. Blink still one of the best cards in the game. It's not seeing as much play as it used to, because I think there's a lot of new hotness people are excited about right now with all the meta changes and the patches, and things are moving and flowing. So Blink has kind of fallen off a bit, but not from a win rate and statistics perspective. So if you got Blink and you want to win some games, here's a deck for you. We go to number 4, and Bounce is back. 59% win rate and a phenomenal Q rate at 5-0. Now, the play rate on this particular list is somewhat on the lower side, so that's something I will caution. But overall, it's the Sage Bounce-based deck. Like, Sage with Beast is insane. Absolutely insane. You got the clog potential of Titania and Goblin. Note that if you play Titania and then Goblin on top, they'll basically both go in block locations, right? Which is kind of crazy. I just think that like this is one of those decks that if you really want to practice the list to really put yourself to the next level, this is one of those decks that'll do that. Sage is very easily going to get to almost 20 power in some cases. It's crazy what Sage can do. Honestly, it's absolutely phenomenal of a card. And White Widow, again, all value cards, a lot of bouncing, and one of the few decks that actually runs Rocket Raccoon to some degree of success as well. Very interesting list, new Bounce coming out. I know Bounce is like something that like not a lot of people like to play because there's a lot of mental gymnastics with it, but if you want to commit to it, it's performing incredibly well right now in the meta at number 4. And that takes us to our next deck, which is number 3, Eternal Zoo. Zoo tends to be a very powerful deck in the current meta, just being countered by the likes of Killmonger and Destroy, generally putting up a lot of power. Now, you're seeing a bit of a difference here. Prior Zoo lists were running Shauna to get additional 1-drops on the board. This current version is running Debris. The rocks do get buffed, by Khazar and by Blue Marvel, resulting in additional buffs for the, listen, Gilgamesh is getting massive. Gilgamesh is putting up massive points. An excellent finisher. It's also worth noting that those rocks count towards Mockingbird's discount as well. So you got a lot of things going here, and so this is currently the top win rate, top cube rate version of Zoo that you're seeing in the current meta. Dazzler still putting up points, a very surprisingly powerful card. And once again, no card in this shell is susceptible to Shadow King, provided you don't play it on top of your Gilgamesh somehow, right? Shadow King, a very good counter to Destroy, which tends to counter this deck anyway, but Shadow King kind of counters a lot of different decks, including the Athena and Angela based packages, which are ever so popular right now, okay? So Eternal Zoo, a very good deck. Gilgamesh's buff land perfectly. I mean, let's be honest, it's a little overpowered at this point, but it's good to see Zoo at least making a bit of a comeback. And if that takes Gilgamesh being a little OP, then at least we got an archetype that we can play with again. And the more archetypes that are playable in the game, I think the better the game is overall. That takes us to number 2. And would you believe it? It's a new version of Surfer running absolutely incredible statistics, a 61% win rate, a 0.39 cube rate. It is just making a splash. You got this Ravonna Sage synergy. We got Wolfsbane out there. We got some Wong that's greedy as hell. Surfer Wong, when was the last time you saw that? This is cutting the Absorbing Man base package and going much more vertical. Obviously, with something like a Sebastian Shaw, it's susceptible to Shang-Chi, it's susceptible to Shadow King, but with Wong Silver Surfer, you're putting up significant power. The Nova Killmonger really destroys Zoo. It's just a good deck, and Ravonna gives you this additional discount along with Sarah. You might have Sage and Wolfsbane as 1 costs on turn 6. You might be able to play 4 3-cost cards because of the way these discounts shake up. So a pretty interesting list, all about putting Sage down right at the last moment. You can put Sage down on the Wong location and absolutely burst vertically. A pretty interesting deck here. Again, the play rate on this was pretty small, so I'd expect the statistics to kind of shift around as more people experiment with it. But you know I'm going to be playing this Surfer deck. Pretty phenomenal statistically. As we move to our deck number 1, it's worth noting that if you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing as we make our way to 100,000 subscribers. I would sincerely appreciate your support, just like I would sincerely appreciate if you check out Athena Sasquatch, a 62% win rate deck running a 0.53 cube rate. Truly remarkable. And Cozy and I on the Snapchat are going to be talking about Sasquatch and how perhaps this card is a bit of a sleeper. And I mean, it was a card that kind of was people were super excited about. It came out and people were like, yeah, it's okay. And they kind of just let it kind of fall to the wayside. And here we are now looking at Sasquatch being like, wait a minute. There's some decks, some shells where it's putting up serious points, and this is a great example of that. So if you're looking to play a statistically incredible deck using that Sasquatch base package, including the Kitty Pryde Angela Athena base package, this is the deck for you. Okay, it's gonna take some piloting practice because, you know, for instance, when you play Mysterio, Athena can't do anything because it's 3 cards played. So you're gonna have to learn how to, you know, pilot this deck in particular. It's not like designed for just Athena going perfectly vertical. It's not designed for Sasquatch going perfectly vertical. It gives you a little bit of everything and a lot of options. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate you guys. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Hit that like button while you're there. I would sincerely appreciate it. And we'll see you in that next Marvel Snap video.